Okay, my new cubes are finally here. Man, this costs a lot of money. But it's okay, I don't need to justify my purchase.
Man, this costs a lot of money.
No, it's fine, no excuses this time. I worked hard for this and this is my reward.
Man, this
What
costs
the?
a lot of money.
Oh, what
Man,
the
this
heck?
costs a lot of money.
Yeah, okay, I have to make a video on this. And it's the 2-year anniversary of the hardware guide, and I really need to make sure my impressions of these cubes are correct, and I really need a new one-handed main. Katana told me to do it, you know. Oh hi, didn't see you there. Sorry, I've already started opening this package, but on the bright side, that means that we can get right into the cubes. I don't normally do this, but I'll be going over the out-of-the-box experience because at these prices, these cubes directly compete with the likes of the DaYan 356 RS, and for anyone who just wants to buy the cube and start solving, it's good to know what they're like with no setup. Let's get to it. This is the DaYan Swift Super Maglev, and at $24, it's $16 cheaper than the V100 that it's based on. The packaging is what we'll call eco-friendly. Yeah, you get the cube and nothing else. This is fine if you're like me and have 1,000 MoYu screwdrivers, but really at this price point it's a bit disappointing. You'll also need to get something pokey to dislodge the center caps as it doesn't come with a tool like the V100 or 16 do. My first turns on this cube were very interesting. It comes very tight, yet it's still extremely fast. And yes, this cube is unapologetically hard, fast, and flexible. It's also got a bit of heft and momentum to the turns, which combined with a strong auto alignment makes this quite a challenging cube to turn if you're coming from something like an RS3M 2020. Next up is the DaYan Guhong Pro Plus at $16. I've heard stories about DaYan factory lubes, so I came prepared with a tissue. Maybe I should have gotten 2 tissues though, because I was not prepared for the tears of joy that I nearly cried when I turned the cube for the first time. I didn't know it was possible for a cube manufacturer to tune a cube so well from the factory that I didn't even feel the need to set it up. It's extremely quiet, very soft feeling, and the turns have a nice weight to them that complements the blocky feel. I think I'm willing to call this the closest to perfect a cube has ever gotten, but please stick around to the end so that I can explain what I mean by that, because it's not quite black and white. Finally, this is the SAOCube RS3M V5 matte, which has a ball core and springs. This cube really needs no introduction, it's just an RS3M V5, which means it's annoyingly good. At $15 I really wasn't expecting much, but even being bone dry and on tight screw depth, it's great. The plastic is noticeably cheap feeling, but otherwise I can see people enjoying it even in this state because of its fairly strong magnets, fast turning, and very confidence-inspiring stability. Here's another hot take that I'll explain later. This is the best cube that MoYu has made in the last few years. Now, I know, you're probably thinking, Peso, what about the GTS3M? What about the Smart Ivy Cube? What about the MoYu Super Duper Looper Weelong Maglev Bong Core UV 69th Anniversary Edition with a Rolex and a side of fries? I have that cube, and I think it's the best. And to that I say, go ask Amy. In all seriousness, my point is the same as hers. What I like may be not what you like, and this is all subjective. That being said, I try to be as objective as possible when describing a cube's characteristics while injecting my own opinions because, well, otherwise this would be an extremely boring video. If you'd like to read more about some other cubes after the video, go down to the description below and check out the WCA hardware guide, which is celebrating its 2nd birthday. Soon enough it'll be learning ZBLL and one looking F2L, I'm sure. And I've also started a cube sheet that contains all my cubes, their setups, and any measurements that I take of them. That'll be linked down below as well. And while you're at it, don't forget to give the channel a like and subscribe too. I really appreciate it. Anyway, onwards with... Coming back to the Swift Super Maglev, this thing is still incredibly hard and fast even after setup and break-in. Being a V100 with a screw core and split piece edges, it behaves exactly how you would expect. The split piece edges are heavier and made of harder, cheaper plastic than the capped ones, which makes the cube more rattly, tactile, and loud. The increased weight makes the cube feel denser and the turns have more momentum, which makes it a little bit more difficult to control with a bit of a swinging kind of feel. You would think that the screw core would give you more freedom in adjustment, but actually I couldn't quite find the same balance as I could on the V100. Because of the poorly designed Maglev system, the jump in compression between setting 5 and 6 is huge, which means for me I missed the sweet spot. When I say the Maglev system is poorly designed, I mean that the magnets are placed way too closely to each other. It's so bad that on stock screw depths, the magnets have under 2mm of space between each other at maximum compression. Because magnets follow the inverse square rule for distance when it comes to the strength they exert on each other, the compression settings on most Maglev cubes are not linear. They get exponentially stronger as you increase them. Combine that with an inherently extremely unstable cube, and what you get is highly unusable settings below 3 and above 6. The only reason why I'm ranting about this is because it's otherwise incredible. You get 95% of a GaN V100 for 60% of the price, down to the external feel of the cube and how it eats lube like Teto eats baguettes. That being said, it's missing the magical floatiness and smoothness of the V100 because of that harder and heavier edge plastic. Provided you have accurate and light turning, it's still fluid and responsive, and the build quality and plastics feel high quality. However, this is still tougher to recommend than the V100 because of the audience that it's aimed at. You need to know exactly what you want from the cube, how you will set it up, and how you will adjust your turning for this cube to work. Like all GaN cubes, there are a lot of setups that will make it feel downright horrible. I feel that less experienced cubers will have trouble with this cube, because despite being priced like an RS3M, it needs to be treated like a GaN cube. Okay, RS3M time. This thing is really good. At $15, the only mark I can put against it is that the plastic feels soft in a cheap way, almost like the Maylong 3M V2. This is because the plastic is so bloody thin and flexible that you can feel it bend even just when taking pieces out. Oh, and the Guhong Pro Plus exists, but even that isn't enough to invalidate the SAOCube RS3M. It's blocky, extremely stable, and very smooth, with moderately strong but not obtrusive magnets. The auto alignment is respectable, kicking in at about 30 degrees. The lightweight pieces work well with the weak springs, and overall the cube is fast and light to turn. I bought a Maglev kit, but I don't even feel the need to install it. It's also very responsive to lubes, which is great. Unlike the Swift block, this cube is incredibly easy to set up. It's difficult to find a setting that's straight up horrible, and I think there's something for everyone to be found here. Now, why do I say this is the best recent MoYu cube? Let's take a look at the problems MoYu has faced over the last few years: durability, pricing, and value. While I'm not saying that this cube won't break, the core isn't made of plastic, so it can't snap. At $15, this is tied with the TianMa ZCube as the cheapest actually good cube with a ball core. We don't talk about the ESCube Air. So the pricing and value are there. Finally, it has the performance to back it up. Top cubers like Dylan Miller and Luke Garrett use the V5, and I think it should just work for most people. It's an honest cube. You get exactly what it says on the box, and it works pretty much immediately. This isn't just a discount V5, I think it's actually the best version of it. Now we finally make it to the Guhong Pro Plus. You could say this cube is dishonest, but actually I think humble is a better way to put it. The box simply says magnetic, but it hides a full click-based dual adjustment system and adjustable core magnets. This is both unheard of for the price and a unique combination. You have to go all the way up to the Tornado V3 Premium to get adjustable magnets, and even then they're piece magnets, not core magnets. What's also not said on the box is the unique feel. It's much like the old Guhongs like the V3 and V4, with a smooth, plush, yet still firm plastic feel. To me, the cube feels a bit like a block of firm jelly. It's slightly less blocky than the RS3M V5, but still definitely on the blocky end of cubes. The core magnets aren't as strong as the other two cubes, but they have a nice range of adjustment and provide a good amount of stability. The main problem this cube faces is the snappy corner cutting. It's usually fine, but the point where it starts to click and snap is sooner than on others. This means that when you're turning well, it's an absolute dream, but the moment you turn sloppily, it punishes you heavily. It's somewhat similar to the V11 in this regard, but the magnet strength is strong enough that it's not as much of an issue. However, the out-of-the-box experience that I mentioned at the beginning of the video more than makes up for this. Coming back to why I think this is almost perfect, it's mainly because of the sheer value for money it offers. I think almost everyone could use one of these out of the box and within a couple dozen of solves get very close to their normal average. As a beginner recommendation, it will teach them to turn accurately, without sacrificing too much in the way of fluidity. It still has its flaws, such as the mold sync lines and difficult to use adjustment system, but at $16 these can be more than forgiven in my opinion. That leads nicely into my conclusion for this video. To put it bluntly, I think any cuber who doesn't know what kind of cube they like should just get a Guhong Pro Plus. Pick 55mm spring for the most normal experience, or the Maglev version if you want a faster cube with no spring noise. The SAOCube RS3M is also an easy recommendation if you're using a lower tier RS3M or a Meilong and like the feel. Unfortunately, I think people coming from more expensive cubes will be disappointed with the cheap feeling of the plastic. So for those people, I would only buy it if you want a lightweight, very stable cube at a relatively low price. If you have more to spend, I would point you towards the Weilong V10 20 magnet spring version, or even an Aolong V5 20 magnet if you're worried about the core. The Swiftblock Super Maglev over here is a very interesting one. If you buy this, be prepared to have an extremely loud and crunchy cube with very fast turning. Nothing else quite feels the same, but also nothing else in this lot here will feel quite as bad as this if you don't set it up properly. My opinion of the older mid-ranges remains the same, and you can watch my video from last year to find out more about them. I'll link it in the description and also have it up here. The only update I have to that video is that I've heard reports of the XT3V1 shipping with much weaker core magnets than I have here, which is disappointing and it makes it harder to recommend. If I had to rank them in terms of my personal preference, I'd put the XT3V1 first, then the Guhong, then the TianMa, then the Swiftblock, and the Beta and the RS3M in effectively tied 5th place. As you can probably tell, I like fast, flexible cubes. And that's why the DaYan V100 is still at the top of my tier list. There's been a bit of a reshuffling of some cubes, but again the border between A tier and S tier is pretty fuzzy, as are the ranks between the cubes. Any S or A tier cube could be my main depending on my mood, but for the moment I'll be using the SAOCube RS3M V5. I figured since it's only $5 more than the RS3M 2020, it would still be in the spirit of the RS3M challenge to switch to it. Yes, that is still going on, I just haven't had the time to record a full session for a while. Now, just before we finish up, I will go over my brilliant presentation version 2. So over on the left side we have the blocky cubes, and on the right side we have the flexible cubes. It's worth noting that the ZCube TianMa is sort of in the middle. It's not quite on the flexible side, it's also not on the blocky side, but I think it still belongs where I've put it. These are ordered in my recommendations of 1 to 3 from top to bottom, and yeah, you can pause the video, just have a look at this, and it's basically just a quick summary. Of course, on the next slide we have 2 cubes that I mentioned last time, and I'll mention them again, but I don't think they're the best choices at this point in time. That's the HuDong and the YS3M. The HuDong I don't mind, but the feel isn't great to me, and some of the tiles can be quite scratchy. The YS3M, again, if you really want a brick, go for that. It's still okay, I just don't like it that much. It's also worth noting that these cubes do come in different configurations, such as having maglev or springs, or having UV or not UV, so you can look around and see what fits within your budget. And if you're still here, thank you so much for watching the video. I have another cubing video coming soon with a very interesting cube, but in the meantime I'll point you towards a new project I've been working on, the Slightly Bigger Violins channel. We're hoping to have our first release out in the next month, which should be a cover of a very special song, so you can stay tuned for that by giving the channel a subscribe. Stay safe everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.